He's coming. Is he coming tonight? Or the attorney?
Charlie said he would be here.
He's probably running behind. Probably traffic. Yeah.
Not early.
Okay.
Okay. We are live and online. This is the 10th working meeting of the Villa Park Home Rule Charter Commission, 14 January 2026 at 7 o'clock. And we're going to start with prayer and pledge.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the wonderful people that have worked so diligently to make this happen for our citizens. Please bless them and their families for all the time and effort they've contributed. Thank them for their kindness, their generosity, and please help us finish this work perfectly for all the citizens of our town. We need your guidance. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay, a quick word for people who are watching on the video. The charts that we're using are posted online, I'm told. I didn't actually go look and verify that. So if you get on the city website and go to boards and commissions and go to the Home Rule Charter link, it will take you to the page. It should be able to find a link for the charts for January 14th and follow along. Okay. We have a lot on the agenda for tonight. We always start with the opportunity for citizens to speak, and we've had 2 people sign up. Carol Wagner.
Good evening. I just wanted to ask, what is the HRCC procedure for handling citizen questions and comments? And I include town hall, emails, website, phone calls. And then the second thing is today I looked for the frequently asked questions that you're all compiling on the city website, and I still haven't seen anything. So I was just curious about the status of it.
Well, we are still compiling. In fact, we're adding stuff in from the town hall from last week. It's complicated. I'm trying to get questions categorized so it just doesn't look like a shotgun thing. What's the process? The city staff created a link on the Home Rule Charter page that generates an email that initially would come to me. And I know it worked because I tried the link and created an email and it came to me, and that's the last one I got. And then I'm not sure exactly when, maybe a couple of weeks ago, they changed that link so that emails would go to Rose Hunt. And she has not forwarded anything to me. So.
But you're getting other like direct emails, maybe phone calls. Are you including all those in your frequently asked questions?
I have gotten a very few emails and a couple of private conversations. People just make a suggestion.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. But I've been looking for any constructive input to make the Home Rule Charter better. That's still my goal. And well, I didn't update this charter. Did you have anything else, Carol?
No, that was it.
Okay. And Lee Miller.
Yes, thank you guys for everything y'all do. This has been very interesting. I've learned a lot, and it's a lot. So along those lines, during the last night's city council meeting, January 13th, Councilmember Contreras asked whether or not every member of the HRCC had filed Texas Open Meeting Act training certification. So I don't know if Councilmember Contreras was implying that was some legal requirement. Interesting question. There is no legal requirement for board or commission members to be certified in that training. I recall that the commission chair recommended the training to all members in August. The online posted commission records indicate that the chair has taken extraordinary action to ensure the commission has acted in compliance with TOMA requirements, and the commission chair himself filed both TOMA and Public Information Act training certifications with the city secretary. So,
Okay,
update.
yeah, thank you. Yes, the recommendation to the entire commission was posted. It's still posted online as far as what the requirements are, and everybody was recommended to take it, just not required to. But again, that's why when I forward information to you all are blind copied, so you cannot generate an email conversation. I think we've done everything we can to make sure that all the state requirements for Open Meeting Act have been followed to the T.
I thought we had responded to you that we had or had not.
I've slept since then, Dave.
I'm sure, but I'm just wondering.
Maybe not enough.
Pick a poll, did we take them or I mean?
There you go.
is that-
You want to show hands?
Just show a hand of everybody that's
Who isn't?
taken
I took it
or
twice
has
because,
certified.
I'll tell you
Okay,
why.
at least have taken it. So.
They're not the best at the website is not the best at
Okay,
actually.
well,
Yeah,
recording
right.
it. It's
Yeah.
doesn't record it.
No, right, and I never received an email, so I had to take a screenshot of it.
Okay. I do not believe it's a concern because again, I think we have maintained total
Mhm.
transparency on everything we're doing. We had to cancel one meeting because I failed to get the agenda posted on time. So. Okay, is there any other citizen input? Okay, next on the agenda, this chart says approved meeting minutes for December 17th, but that's simply the chart not being updated. Hope this is the right set of charts. It is. Okay. It's the right set of charts. Okay, but you have on the table the draft minutes.
Yeah.
From January 7th. Does anybody have any comments or recommend changes? Or a motion to do something with them?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Carol made motion, Carol seconded. Any comments? All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is to review the schedule. For anybody online, we should be on slide number 5. Okay, I did give a status report to the city council last night. Got several questions, tried to answer them all. We are in the process, hopefully, we might be able to finish tonight. If not, we will have to schedule a meeting for the 21st. And we still are on track, I believe, to submit the charter to the city council on January 27th. And just for anybody who isn't aware of this, there is a state mandated deadline of February 13th as the final date that anything is allowed to be added to an election ballot for May 2nd. So we are hoping that this will get added to that. Well, to be clear, the council ordered an election for May 2nd last night. And I understand some people have already signed up to run for the three city council seats that are open. And so this is an item that will be added to that election ballot. Okay. One of the items that discussed last night was, once that happens, the next step next step will be to print and mail a copy of the charter to every registered voter. One of the steps in that will be to decide upon what date that registration order will be effective. Might have to, not sure who makes that decision, not me. Once those charters are mailed out, I am hopeful, actually, that more people will become interested in exactly what may result from approving and passing that charter. So we have put 3 tentative dates to where we may have all 3, but we may only pick a couple of them. But we have 3 tentative dates for town hall meetings for providing information to citizens. And that all culminates, I think, early voting starts April 20th. And election day is May 2nd, and we will all know the answer pretty much by the end of that day. Any question about the schedule?
Just one question about mailing out the copies of the home rule charter.
Sir?
Do we know what the process to convert that from English to Spanish?
There is no requirement.
I thought there was, that it had to be in both languages.
The research I've done, I do not believe it has to be in both languages. I mean, if there's a city that is predominantly bilingual, they may have that requirement. But I don't believe that we do.
Thank you.
And I suppose we don't have an attorney here tonight, so. Okay. I'll just make that a note. Okay. Like I said, we have a lot to do tonight. Okay, we have a subject related to the Board of Ethics. What to do about that? And the online slide isn't going to give a lot of information about this. We have okay. Article 9, Section 9.01B currently requires that the city council will, by ordinance, create a board of ethics and provide some additional detail that would be expected. But the gist of it is that the city council would have the responsibility to create a board of ethics. A lot of discussion about this. And we discussed at the last meeting, potentially replacing that with a revised paragraph, which I've copied for everybody. One comment that I got, I haven't shared with you yet, is screen.
Do you want me to give a little overview?
Okay, yeah, you can give a little overview, but way this is on the screen, it breaks it up into more bite-sized pieces because, you know, I put this up kind of for the camera to see. the original draft I got is one long paragraph and it's easy to read as a telephone.
Well, that can stand. So what I ended up doing was, from the discussion that we had last time, we were looking at another city and folks liked some of the words in their paragraph. And so I merged a few of those concepts into the original section 9, whatever it is, 9.01 or whatever it is. I also focused on making sure that the paragraph, read that the board would be separate from and independent of the city council and city staff, as well as selection of the board members shall be established via an unbiased independent selection process. So those are the two hot buttons that folks had last time that I tried to integrate in here. Without going into excruciating detail like the other articles had. So I'm not married to this at all. But it's food for thought. It can be broken up into bite-sized chunks, so it's easy to read, but I don't know if that's what you did or whatever, but take a look at it and
David, that is what you did, is you
That's
separated.
That's essentially what I did.
Oh, okay.
Just so that I could understand it better. It was really hard to read all in one big paragraph, but there's some things in it that a little bit redundant, so maybe there's some things to take out to try to clean it up. But essentially the only other changes I made were just the board's composed of 7 members established by the city council, just making sure that we understand how that's done and to advise the council. And the board membership will be established via unbiased independent selection process in that paragraph. And you can kind of tell a spot.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then the board, hears and, decides on conflicts. The other thing that I added was the bottom line was not just independent legal counsel, but potentially any other expert resources that may be required, like HR.
Like accountants.
Accountants, et cetera, right? So those are the adds I made, but I think there's some other things we could maybe do to maybe just tighten up some of the redundancy. It's pretty good.
Let me make a suggestion and see what you think. Where it says the ethics board shall be advised by independent legal counsel. That establishes a requirement. I would think maybe the ethics board may consult as opposed to shall be advised. Just for consideration.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. If you remember our previous paragraphs where we had the membership had to include someone like a lawyer or a judge or someone like that. We don't know who that is, but this group should be able to at least have at their disposal a resource to consult.
Yes, that's what I'm saying is, but to make it a requirement.
Yeah,
that's I think too far.
Especially if they're dealing with a frivolous complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm actually hopeful that the council will at least look at the very well-defined process that we kind of looked at for a couple of weeks and use that as a basis. Because there are safeguards that are defined in there that I think are really good, but that is, I think we've decided that is not appropriate to put that level of detail in the charter, certainly not initially. Okay. So
Can I maybe make a statement?
Sure.
Before we go any further? I attended the meeting last night. And certain points were raised and made that I feel like need to be addressed for the benefit of the people who are potentially watching this meeting. I think it's important that we step back for a minute and think about what we are doing here. In creating a home rule charter, I think it's important for all of us to understand and recognize that this is not a case of first impression by any stretch. There are over 300 home rule charter cities in the state of Texas, and of varying sizes, some as our size and a little smaller, and some a great deal larger. We have made a conscious effort to ask the legal counsel when they've attended if not only what we were doing was legal, if we were stepping over the line in any way, but also to ask them if we were within the norm. Were we putting provisions in this document that were unusual, out of step, case of first impression? And we've been told that was not the case. Oddly, their suggestion was made that we looked at inappropriate cities in looking for guidance in drafting. I would like everyone to recall that we looked at charters of cities that were of reasonably the same size. We didn't look at any cities, big cities like Dallas or Houston, because it's just apples and avocados. We looked for charters that we thought were well written, well organized, clear, and with regard to the city of Liberty Hill, I personally have no knowledge of the politics of that population, and I'm completely disinterested in it. What I liked about that charter and the city of Saxe and some of the others was, again, the concept of clarity, well written, reasonably current. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to be within the norm, and I think we've achieved that. And I think that's very important for all of our citizens to understand. We're not creating anything out of whole cloth. With regard to this ethics commission, this is the only thing in the charter that is even slightly new. And I think that those of us on the commission feel strongly that it's important for us to have a forum where disagreements between the council and staff, between council members, between staff members, can have a forum, a place to go, a disinterested, independent place to go to air those disagreements and come to an amicable, professional, civil, respectful conclusion. Now, that being said, I also agree that given the level of concern that's been raised by the citizens, by some citizens, I don't really have a sense of how many, that it is appropriate for us to leave a great deal of the makeup of that ethics commission in the hands of elected officials. Because hopefully, in the process of coming up with a code of ethics and then a commission in a process of creating that commission, that they will welcome citizen involvement to understand what it is the city of Willow Park wants. So, impressed as I was by Articles 11 and 12, that was a lot of work. And I think it's got some great ideas. But I don't think the city of Willow Park, the citizens of the city of Willow Park are there yet. I think more education is required. Therefore, I'm in favor, and I recommend that we create a very broad, basic statement, something like what we've talked about here, that says that this is the duty of the city council. They can't not do it. I think one thing we should consider is giving them some kind of a reasonable time frame to get it done. And then making it clear that what they need to do is to have a truly independent body, because a body that is not independent, that people can pick at and say, oh, that's somebody's brother-in-law and somebody's business partner, will be useless. with regard to this statement that it's going to cause an explosive growth of government, I don't think that's true. I think it's much like the recall and referendum provisions in the charter, which, by the way, to my knowledge, are a feature of pretty much every charter that's out there. They are not used frequently. They're cumbersome. They're cumbersome by design, and appropriately so. And I think the ethics committee, particularly if they include the kind of safeguards that 11 and 12 suggested, will make people think twice before hauling off and having some little personal pissy fit. But I do think that we need to step back. We need to direct the council to do their job and then let them do it. And if they don't do it, then they need to face the voters and explain. Finally, last night there was question about why certain provisions of the local government code were not specifically referenced in the chart. I would like to remind everyone a couple of things. The local government code, last time I looked at it, consisted of 3 bound volumes that were about this thick. There's no way we could put every piece of that and all the rest of the statutes that deal with city government in that and still have something that didn't look bigger than the phone book. It's not necessary. We say in our charter that it's subject to applicable state and federal law. That covers it. To the extent that state law changes, which Lord knows it does on a regular basis, if we have references to specific sections, we could find ourselves with a charter that's inaccurate overnight and for no good reason. So again, a charter is a framework, it's a structure, it's intended to be an overall governance document. It is not intended to be a document that says how the city is run. That's the job of the city council. All this is supposed to create a framework that allows them the freedom to do their job and also gives the citizens expanded rights to be involved in that decision-making process. So thank you very much for indulging.
No, that's good.
Well said, Carol.
That's fine. But now we have to decide what text do we actually want to put into the charter relative to the Board of Ethics.
You know, the only thing I really think we ought to consider is whether or not we give the city council some kind of a time frame. Because I'm concerned that if they're not given a time frame, it will be one of those things that just drags on.
90 days.
That's a good point, but is that something that we put into the section on defining what the expectation of the council is as far as creating a board? Or is that something that goes into Article 10 on transition?
That's a good point. And I think that Article 10 would probably be a better place for it. I think so.
Okay. So have we looked at this change enough to know, do we want to incorporate that as do we want to replace section 9.01B with this? And if we do that, is it correct to simply replace 901B, or should it go in as a different reference within the charter structure?
I think 901B is the right place for it.
Okay.
My suggestion is let's go start at the top of this. I think this is mighty close.
Okay.
I think one of the hot topics of terms that keeps coming up over and over again is the subpoena. Yes. I know it's in there. That seems to stick in a lot of people's craw. We just need to be sure we adequately address the reason for that and justification for that, because that's going to come up in the town hall. That already came up in the city council meeting yesterday, and I think that's just gonna continue to be a hot topic.
Okay. So real quickly, if I can. In the charter, the word subpoena appears under section 3.11.
Yep.
Investigations, the city council shall have the power. Permitting the council to subpoena witnesses, administer oaths, compel the appearance. And I could, if you wanted to, pull up the Weatherford City Charter and we'll find almost exactly the same language. Okay. So the concept is not new. I suppose.
I think the rub is that this is an elected body. The board, I won't say appointed, but essentially appointed by. And having the same power are those people, and how do we word that so that it's not,
I wish Fritz was here.
because I think that's the issue. The council believes that all they're gonna be doing is looking over their shoulder for every single decision they make, because they think this body is gonna run them, which is totally not the case. But that's the feeling I'm getting from their discussions.
So I can't read their minds, so
Get it.
none of us can, but if we're going to create a body as a source to, well, I said this to the council last night. One of my thinking about the Board of Ethics is if you have a body like this, most people will just behave better.
Yeah.
The analogy I used was it's why I put a lock on my shed. Keeps honest people honest. Not gonna keep the thief out. But if we're gonna create a body like this, and we say you have the power to investigate things, you have to give them tools to be able to do the investigation.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
I'm not suggesting to remove it. I'm just saying that is kind of the hot topic that people continue.
Well, I think people are not, I mean, I do not know why somebody would not want the Board of Ethics to have the ability to do a proper investigation of a complaint.
One thing to remember, the Board of Ethics is only gonna have authority over the city council, members of boards and commissions, and city staff. They're not gonna have the power to compel in any way people who don't fall into those categories. They
Well,
just
that's
aren't.
true.
And, for example, as an employer, the city can require employees to participate in investigations.
Mhm.
And that is a normal function of every organization I'm aware of. And by creating this ordinance, the city council is agreeing to cooperate and to be a part of, to basically allow that to occur. So I'm not so sure. When people think of subpoena powers, they think of like law and order, all that sort of thing. And that's not really what would end up happening with this commission. Because it's such a finite world. They're not even going to have the ability to compel, for example, city vendors. It's just not possible because they have not consented.
Well,
to
that's a point though, that we actually include that, the suppliers that have any relationship to the city. So we might want to go back and revisit that wording.
Right.
That is in.
Yeah, it's in the code of ethics part.
Mm-hmm.
It's, obviously it's applicable to city officers, employees, board and commission members, and people doing business with the city. So the code of ethics applies to that whole population. We'll just have to, as we go down through it, we'll just have to make sure that the scope of the board is
Yeah, the
clear.
city has no power over those people other than in their contract.
Right.
Relationship.
Right.
So if you
And
have
only
a
then-
finding that's, that you can't like fine them or fire the employee or anything. You can't reach into that organization and do anything.
Correct.
And the city won't have, and the ethics commission, just like the city, doesn't have the ability to abrogate contracts.
Correct.
Except in strict compliance with the law.
So I just heard the recommendation to delete and people doing business with the city.
I believe that's true.
Okay, so what else do we have to do to this sentence to make it proper? I'll remember, I'll fix that. Employees and board and commission members?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then delete that comma after members.
Yeah, and numbers there.
You have a period after city, I think.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Okay.
So your comma after members.
After members right there.
I think the second paragraph is fine.
That came out of the Liberty piece.
It did.
Good about it. Okay.
Everybody okay with the second paragraph?
I am.
Okay,
Third. I don't know if you want the quasi judicial, that was in Liberty as well.
I think it's a good idea to characterize what it is so that people know what they're dealing with.
what does it mean? Does everybody know what quasi judicial means?
You can interpret a lot, right?
Yes.
So what's a better descriptor?
Well, it's not part of the executive function, which is obviously the city council. It's not part of the administrative function, which is the city staff. It is separate. It's not a full-blown court.
Right.
So it can't be a judicial body, but yet it does have powers that are kind of quasi judicial in nature, such as the ability to conduct investigations, examine evidence, question witnesses, and come up with findings. And that is a judicial function, but it's not a formal
Correct.
full. And plus, I think we say down below that what they can do is make referrals to the DA's office. They can come up with advisory opinions. They do not have the authority that a true judicial body would have.
Right.
So
Okay, I'm good with that, based on what you described.
that's what, when I see quasi, that's what I see.
Right, but we can't put all those words into here to back up what that means.
And if you go, as we go down and it talks about what they can do, hear and decide on complaints. Investigate complaints on its own initiative or referral or complaint from officials. Gather evidence, issue and enforce subpoenas. Blah, blah, blah. Any evidence of decide ethics complaints based on information as submitted. Issue binding advisory opinions, verbal or written reprimands, whatever that is. Those are judicial acts.
Well, I know, but again, got too many windows.
I think the quasi judicial body is very, very important.
Leave it in?
I think it's, I think it's
Google
pretty,
search, tell somebody what it means.
Okay. Talk me into it. I'm just,
what did we ever do
trying-
with that?
I'm trying to, Jiminy Cricket, maybe.
Thank you, Jimmy.
No problem. Do we even want to mandate how many members shall be there? Or should that be, I mean,
That could be part of the ordinance, right, as developed, or does the commission have?
Do you want to give them a minimum amount of members? I don't care either way, I'm just.
um,
I wonder, there was a concern raised that it would be difficult to find people to be
Right.
willing to serve. I think that, I believe Carol suggested adding the phrase that they will, that these will be volunteers.
So
Maybe what we say, the board shall be composed of maybe
Right.
not less than 5. I mean, you don't want 3 people making a
Mm.
decision that's potentially momentous, but 7 may be tough to come by.
So the
Not
board,
less than 5 volunteer members. Just a thought.
the board composed of at least
Yes.
Yeah.
5 members,
about, of at least 5 volunteers.
not
think-
5 volunteers, that's.
Do we want to say something about criteria for membership, or I don't think that's necessarily a good idea, but something about an experience I mean, you don't want, you do people serving on this who have some sort of experience.
Of course, but I don't know that we want to mandate that in the.
And I don't think we should. I think that's for the city council, but do we want to say something along the lines of,
All,
you know,
is something general? I mean, how do we know what that's gonna look like? Is that business owners? Is that gotta be a
Yeah,
lawyer?
hopefully,
Does it have to be a, I mean, you can go down that same road where we
Right.
had the other sections. Where we got so wrapped around the axle that it's too painful.
maybe that's the case, and we just, I mean, do we leave it to the council to make a good decision that they find 5 people with diverse experience and qualifications?
I think you leave that up to them.
Yeah,
And
and
the
just
board
leave it, and
is-
let's leave it up to them to do a good job.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do we want to say something about the term of board members, or specifically say that the council will determine a term, or is that getting too much into?
The ordinance, right?
It is part of the ordinance, unless we want to give them guidance on it should be that.
um,
Isn't,
I don't think that the charter, until such time, and I don't know how far into the future it would be, that a completely defined ethics board structure could be ready to be put into the charter.
Yep.
I think the less detailed the better.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So are we good down to the board with here and decide on complaints filed pursuant to such policies and ordinance? Board shall have the authority and power to investigate complaints on its own initiative. And again, I think that means within the framework of the policies of the ordinance.
I think that's a pretty well.
is it initiative or on referral or and on referral?
Say that again, David?
Is it on its own initiative or on referral?
Yeah.
Or and on it?
Maybe it's
It's
or on
or.
referral or complaint.
Yeah, but it's saying on its own initiative and on referral.
I think that's an or. I think
It should be
that's
an or.
that should.
So you could get, okay, I don't know what would drive that, the board to do it on its own initiative, but they become aware of something, you know, they have the leeway to go and check. Could be referred to them and it could be come through as a complaint. So I think it's
Well, I think,
any of those combinations, right?
their own initiative probably would arise in a situation where they were looking at one complaint and in the process of that
Right.
investigation, they discovered something
That's the
different.
point.
That's probably where it would come from.
Okay.
So we're just changing that and to an or.
The board shall have the authority and power to investigate complaints categorized by the ethics policy and ordinance.
I don't think you need it, especially if you don't make this a new paragraph.
Mhm.
Because the first sentence, because if the first sentence says they've got the ability to hear and decide on complaints filed pursuant to policies and the ordinance, and then you just swoop right into they have the authority and power to investigate, then that's all part of this. If it's all part of the same paragraph, to me, I think that makes it clear that their activities are going to be limited to the policy and the ordinance, whatever that works out to be.
Right.
Well, okay. Okay, I'm beginning to think that the sentence that says have the authority and power to investigate complaints on its own initiative is actually redundant to that previous sentence.
I don't think
It's
it
kind
is.
of defining it in a different way. The board shall have the
Or-
authority and power to decide on complaints filed pursuant to such policies and ordinance.
Here's a thought. Why, you could just say, capital P, pursuant to such policies and ordinance, comma, the board shall have the authority and power to investigate.
Mhm.
And then strike, the board will hear and decide on complaints filed. And just say pursuant to such policies and ordinance, comma.
I think we're getting to the same place I was trying to get.
I think we are.
And then strike this sentence.
I don't think you need that.
Well, that's kind of where I was going.
Cool beans.
You still have to hand it.
Okay, thank you.
Let me say it. Just gonna say something.
You still have to hand.
Yeah, we still have the,
Did I miss something?
after.
It's just sort of on initiative or instead of that and, it should be.
Okay. Then you want me to embed all this stuff into 901 paragraph
I
B.
think you changed shall to may. On the
First.
first line, down, scroll down. First line on the next page.
Oh, that's board.
Oh, that's correct.
May be advised.
We took out suppliers in
Oh.
terms of the board's authority. But the suppliers could be the source.
And probably would be.
Yeah, have them included.
So let me ask you a question. So if you've got a problem with the supplier, a contractor,
Contractor, yeah.
so the most likely event is that you're looking at uh, some sort of a fraud situation or an undue influence situation or some kind of conflict of interest situation. So you've probably got an issue, one of two things. You got downright fraud, in which case they ought to just send it straight either to the Parker County Attorney or the DA, depending on kind of what the nature is. Or there's something, the real focus of what the Ethics Commission should be looking at is the city official or the city council person with whom this person is involved.
I wasn't clear.
Yeah, and I think
I wasn't making myself clear. I'm not talking about that scenario. I'm talking about the other scenario
which
where
is
the supplier is seeing an ethics violation on the part of the city.
so instead of just saying city council and
It's-
staff
See, it
and
just says
residents, you want
staff
to
and
say
residents or
other people doing business. with
other
the city.
people doing business
With the city. I think that's a great idea.
Right.
Where am I looking?
Ooch up a little higher.
You talking about in here?
Yeah, right there. Take out the or, make residents or,
So it'd be comma, right?
yeah,
Residents.
employees, comma, residents, or,
Get rid of the-
get rid of that or.
Well, let's insert
Or
something
you can
here.
insert. And
Yeah.
What is the correct term you're looking for?
city suppliers.
Persons doing business with the city.
Yeah, persons doing business with the city. Or residents.
Or
Yeah, the
residents.
last one.
How about more citizens? And that captures everybody.
But they might not be citizens as part of
A
Willow Park.
Parker, or
A part of
Yeah.
it.
Willow Park.
That's true.
I could be a contractor from Plano.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Still citizens, some.
Business partner.
Yeah, I don't know that the captures this.
Well, yeah.
What suggestion might have someone have? Official city employees. What did you say, Dave?
Or others doing business with the city.
Even that doesn't maybe cover it.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question. If you say it's people doing business with the city, then the person that comes and makes the complaint has some sort of an actual relationship with the city, as opposed to a gadfly who shows up and says, I don't like whatever.
Mhm.
There'd be some sort of a nexus. There's nexus with employees and council members
Mhm.
and citizens.
Business associate.
I don't like this word, but. Other persons dealing with the city.
Conducting business with the city.
Contracting.
Your contracting is too narrow.
Well,
If you're
residents deal with the city.
Well, what if you're somebody who's looking for a permit to hold an event? Maybe you aren't a resident of the city, but you want to have a parade or I don't know, whatever.
Right.
And you become, someone says, sure, you can have your permit if you cross my palm with 30 pieces of silver. Well, they are doing business with the city. They're dealing with this. They aren't residents or whatever. They would have legitimate reason to be heard by the Ethics Commission.
Okay, well, we have a lot of other stuff to do tonight. I'm going to say, can we leave it at other persons dealing with the city and come back to that if we need to? 'Cause
Are we taking out the residents?
well, residents are people dealing with the city.
I think you need, residents needs to be, it's probably duplicative, but I think you need to say it.
Okay. The other comments on this paragraph, which I'll read for everybody involved. Gather and hear evidence, issue and enforce subpoenas to compel the attendance of witnesses and any evidence or documents to decide ethics complaints based on the information and facts submitted, to issue binding advisory opinions, verbal and written reprimands, and to admonish and in appropriate circumstances to recommend to the city council and or the city manager more severe disciplinary action, including recall, termination, civil litigation, or criminal charges.
Ooh,
Now, that is still just an advisory ability to recommend. And somebody will misread that and we will have to point out that it is an advisory ability to recommend.
Do you wanna bold and italicize recommend? I'm kidding.
Put it in like 2020 font. I don't know.
and hot
Yeah.
milk.
On that point, I will back up to decide ethics complaints, issue binding advisory opinions. Binding under what context?
To me, that means that the city council and city staff can't send it back to the Ethics Commission and ask them to reconsider. That once they've made their advisory opinion known, that it's
Okay,
not subject to somebody telling them, you know, you need to rethink this,
okay, but it's still an advisory opinion.
right?
And I'm just looking at English, binding advisory opinion means, yeah, I'm gonna advise you to do this and yeah, you'll have to do it, sure. I don't think that's what it really is intended to mean.
Final is probably a better word.
Final instead of
Final.
binding.
I agree with final.
Do we want to say something about confidentiality or not?
So would that be covered under any of the other, like the code of ethics, any of the, overall either laws or code of ethics or anything?
I think that's a good point, because I think probably in the field of attorney relationships, in judicial reviews, I think it's mandated that those hearings are kept confidential.
It's not nearly as uniform as you might think.
Oh.
The question to me becomes, for example, if you're dealing with an HR matter, there are very specific state and federal rules that mandate what is and is not confidential there.
Right.
What I'm talking about is not so much the process, because that's one way or the other. The question becomes whether or not the advisory opinions, once they're issued by the board, are made available to the public. And it seems to me that what you don't want to have happen is that the board goes through this process, comes up with an opinion that says, okay, this is what we looked at, this is what we find, this is our finding in the matter, and it ends up being made confidential by the city council, and the citizens have no way of knowing that this ever happened, much less
Not the result.
what the result was.
Even if they were the
Now,
initiators.
Judge, you serve on a very similar board to us. What exactly do you guys do in terms of, once you come to a conclusion, what happens to those opinions in terms of making it available to the public?
It's pretty much internal. And as far as the judging,
I'm not talking about the judging, I'm talking about the final product of your deliberations.
if we're talking about dealing with officers who might be guilty of malfeasance or an error of some type, that's basically, it's pretty much kept in-house unless it is a grievous offense, in which case it's referred to the district attorney for prosecution. Then that becomes a matter of public concern.
So what would we think, and this is just a thought, what if we said something to the effect of, the decisions of the ethics board, when final, shall be made public to the extent permitted by applicable law.
And where would we put,
I think it's part of that previous paragraph that we were grinding on about. I think it's a final sentence on that
Right.
paragraph.
okay? So,
The final determination,
records of final determination?
yeah.
I know it gets into the weeds, but kind of curious about all
Okay.
these investigations and
Shall be
records
made
and
public.
things. Where are they kept? Are they kept here with the city council?
They
or-
would be considered public information and subject to being open, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Shall
go
be
ahead.
made public.
Shall be made public, comma, to the extent permitted by applicable law.
Do I need a comment? there?
Or what you could say is shall be considered public information to the extent permitted by applicable law.
Of course, the idea of having this entire operation is to let the public know that someone is acting badly, and in that sense, you get compliance. You get people that might hesitate to do something bad for public embarrassment. In the sense also that these people would be hesitant to do it because it hurts them. If they're dealing in business, it would hurt them in their
To the
business.
extent permitted by applicable law. But Dave, to get back to your question, that becomes information that's subject to the Public Information Act. The city already is required to maintain that information in accordance with some very specific rules.
So, records of
Right.
final determination shall be considered public information to the extent permitted by applicable law.
So good. So how is it cordoned off and separated from city records and employees? Where, how did?
It will be
how do
managed
they-
by the city employees once it's done.
Right.
But, in the process of investigation, it's generally not subject to an open records request or public information request. It's only once you get done with it
Mhm.
that it becomes public information, subject to all sorts of rules and regulations, both in terms of what can be provided, and also how it has to be managed and maintained, and for how.
Excellent.
So the ethics board may consult with independent legal counsel and other independent experts, for example, human resources, as needed. Good with that? No member of the board may hold elective or appointed office under the city or any other government or hold any political party office. City or any other government entity? I'm not sure.
Or governmental entity?
Um, yeah, that's just kind of hanging there.
Mhm.
Governmental entity?
It's good.
Well, government entity, governmental entity, I think they mean the same thing. But
Okay.
we want the word entity there anyway, right?
Yes.
And you think governmental is better?
You see that in the local government code.
You're right, we do. Or hold any political party office. I'm a precinct chair, I would not be able to
Right.
participate, okay, so that's. City council shall appropriate sufficient funds to the Board of Ethics to enable it to perform the duties assigned to it. And candidates for public office,
Annual training and education, yeah.
training and education to city officials and employees, including candidates for public office regarding the ethics code. I'm not gonna quibble with that, but until you actually get elected, do we want to be forcing expenditure on that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I do think so. People run for offices all the time and have no idea what they're getting into. And really, the ethics starts in the election process. And you really ought to let people know
okay.
what's expected of you.
Just trying to make sure we're getting it right. Now, there's a long list here of other powers of the Board of Ethics include.
Yeah, if we decided we could scrap that.
I'm
That was
thinking-
in Liberty.
Yeah,
I'm thinking this goes
It's too
into the
much.
ordinance.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm hitting the delete button on that. And then that is all we have on that. Do you, I mean, it is the direction of this board to insert that text into section 901, subsection D, and make it look pretty.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll try. Okay,
Now we need to go to 10, talk about some kind of a time frame.
okay,
So what do y'all think is a realistic time frame to develop a code of ethics and flesh out the ordinance, which would be similar to maybe Article 10 and 11, right? We've been working as a team or as a commission for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
That sounds about right, though.
So if I mean, this is not a small task,
It's
right?
not.
And to do it right, I don't think we should mandate some, too short of a time.
I agree.
So I was,
But we
thinking,
do need a time frame for the council to take action to initiate
that's correct.
okay, to
like within
initiate.
like 90 days or 60 days or something, right? I understand.
I was looking at,
Gestation period of.
I was looking at, okay,
6 to 8 months or.
It's actually
and
kind of
completion, so.
Yeah.
Recall at the last meeting, I quoted the city attorney's opinion that the council should adopt an ordinance within 30 days.
That's way too
That's
short.
pretty
And
fast.
that's not feasible.
That's way not feasible.
Right. To initiate a subcommittee to look at the subject in 30 days is barely feasible. Okay,
But we're also getting into the how to.
What? Right.
We don't want to get too far into that.
So within 60 days, then, we would expect the council to initiate a, what do you call it, subcommittee, a commission to
okay, think about it from this perspective.
create the ordinance or work on the ordinance.
If this gets put into effect the first week in May, June, July, August, September, October. I would say if they could draft a charter by October, they'd be doing pretty good.
I'd be shocked. I
Hmm?
would. I'd be shocked. There's gonna be an awful lot of people coming and talking about, what can and can't be done.
Okay.
I don't think it's unreasonable to ask them to appoint a subcommittee within 30 days. Come up with some folks on the subcommittee. And then,
Is our thought the subcommittees then appoint or
no,
or
no, that's the city council.
Ordinance, create the, or draft the ordinance, right?
Basically come up with it, and somebody comes up with a first draft of an ordinance within 6 months, because you're right, what you said, Mary, you're right, we've been doing this for 6 months, and there's a big learning curve. Now, the good news is there's a ton of codes of ethics floating around for them to look at, and there's a ton of ethics commissions for them to look at, so nobody has to create at the wheel.
Yeah, I did it. I created a code of ethics using AI,
Mhm.
and it was 10 seconds worth. It said, look at all cities in Texas that have a code of ethics and create one combined,
Yeah.
list of common topics. And it was done. I mean, at least it gets, it's a place for them to
To
start.
start.
Right. But it's not a big, I don't see that as the big time, the time consumer. It's gonna be that.
Yeah.
The details.
Yeah, the details, what do we,
Yes.
I don't, once you've got the committee appointed, I think 6 months is generous to come up with that first draft, and after you come up with the first draft, is it appropriate to say that you have to, or are we getting too far in the weeds to say you need to vote on it within 60 days thereafter?
I'm looking for it myself. I'm thinking that targeting 6 months out is the best we could do. And I don't, trying to define how they do it in a certain time frame. That's not, I don't think that's appropriate.
No, I don't think it is either. I think it's appropriate to say, you gotta get going. And you gotta have a product within a time frame. But other than that, I mean, they are the elected officials.
For clarification, the subcommittee would not consist of city staff, correct? I'm asking.
I think that's for the city council to
That's
decide.
exactly right.
And, I would imagine it's gonna be appropriate for citizens to keep a close eye on the commission, attend their meetings, much like people have attended our meetings, make their thoughts known on the subject at city council meetings and at the commission meetings, and let everybody involved know that this is not something that's just gonna fade in the woodwork.
So
How
let
about-
me be a devil's advocate for a second. I'm sorry.
How about we propose that the city council shall propose an ordinance to define a board of ethics within 6 months and hold public hearings?
That's a great idea. They get to make their own sausage.
I do not go to typing.
It's okay.
I think you've done a great job.
To 20, okay, within 6 months, okay. Of this charter.
Part of my question was, in asking that, is that we mentioned that they would be volunteers. And if city council appoints city staff to do it, they're not, they're probably most likely gonna be doing it on city time. I would think.
But they're not the board member.
But this is, what we were talking about is coming up with the ordinance. And I think if I was sitting on the council and I was talking about who do we put on the subcommittee, I'd say number one, the city attorney. Number two, some staff member that's got experience in managing, because staff is the one that has to deal with the ordinances.
Okay.
Citizens and maybe a city council member. That would be my
Yeah,
suggestion.
that puts it in place. Okay, so what I put in here, the city council will propose an ordinance to define the Board of Ethics within 6 months of adoption of this charter and hold at least one public hearing on the proposal. And that at least initiates the thought that they might have more than one.
Could we maybe say after define the Board of Ethics and say something like, in accordance with the requirements of Article 901B, to make it clear that they have to be compliant? They can't.
I think that's redundant, but
I think it is too, but I do think it bears. There's something to be said for smacking people on the head twice. In some circumstances.
in accordance with
901B, is that where?
901B.
wish I had a key for this.
Well, you have to cut and paste.
I'll be careful with cut and paste.
You have to be careful with everything with the computer.
Well, that's true.
Especially the delete key.
Did I get it right?
I think so.
Okay, in that case, we have a lot of other stuff to do.
Okay, thanks, Jean.
No problem.
Did you save that?
Okay.
Please save that.
Hopefully it's an auto save.
So now, if you are enjoying this online, I hope we haven't lost everybody.
I'm sorry.
We are now on slide 7. And there were a bunch of questions that were posed in the last town hall, a lot of input. And at this point, since it is now 17 after 8, I'm not going to read through all this or spend a lot of time on it. Question, why put this on the ballot in May versus November? Basically, we think that in November, the state, federal issues would overpower and city issues would just get lost in the noise. Why is the commission trying to grow this government by increasing the size of the city council? Well, first off, this commission is not trying to grow city government, period. We're proposing to add a council member because we looked at several other charters. The concept of giving the mayor a vote is very good. And we still need an odd number of people with votes. So we could reduce to 4, increase to 6. We chose to increase to 6, and that brought up another person's comment who suggested, why don't we model ours after Weatherford that has 4 council members? And their council, the mayor of Weatherford does have a vote. The 4 council members are elected from wards. That is, Weatherford's divided into 4 districts. And we decided that we really didn't want to divide. There wasn't a reasonable path to create wards in Bull Park. So we're going with all 6.
Plus, if you have districts, every 10 years after the census, you have to go through the process of
Absolutely.
redistricting, and that involves a substantial expense because you have to get experts to basically go through and make sure that you're complying with the law about that the state, that each district is similarly sized and, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
We shouldn't be wasting money.
No. So moving on to slide 8. What is the definition of a qualified voter? We'll get to that because I put the definition that is on the screen there in a new Article 11 definitions. We'll get to that hopefully pretty soon. What is the process of validating a signature? Texas petition validation is required to simply verify name, address, date of birth. The voter ID, signature and date are all confirmed against existing voter registration records. What are the criteria for removing someone unfit for not performing? That is, recall them under section 601. First off, they have to maintain eligibility under section 302. And then there are specified criteria under Texas law. And quite honestly, if enough citizens think that an individual made exhaustive promises of what they were going to do when they were elected, and the person's behavior exhibits completely the opposite, those people may want to try to recall. So that would be an option. Does the commission need to differentiate between a government or a general obligation and a certificate of obligation kind of bonds?
No, that's done by state
No,
law.
we don't. GO bonds generally require voter approval. CO bonds don't, unless they are subject to a referendum. So possibly. Are the current procedures for council investigations? No. This concept is not authorized under general law. It is under city charters, and I can refer you to Weatherford's Article 6, Section 20. How will the charter impact me financially? It shouldn't change. The charter itself will not be expected to affect taxes at all. Where do the funds for copies of the charters to be sent to voters come from? General fund of the city. Oops. Can the slide deck be posted on the city website? Yes, it is. Okay. Now we're going on to, we're on slide 10. There are currently residual red lines in the document, and we need to go through those and determine whether to keep the red lines or modify them. In section 303, under prohibitions, holding other office, we suggested to add to that, shall hold any elected public office to add or city employment.
That's already covered by state law. You're not allowed. I mean, that's in the, that's an administrative code. But I think it's a good idea to put it there,
Okay,
just to remind people.
so make that change.
Yes.
Thank you. Under the same section, subparagraph C, there was a recommendation to remove the city attorney as an avenue to be able to speak to employees.
Yes.
Dave's in agreement.
Yeah, I suggested.
I knew that.
That's normal. You normally see that in the governmental, where the city council, their sole employee basically is the city manager, and they don't go popping off and talking to city employees
It is normal not to have. the
It is normal
attorney.
not to have city council people talking to staff.
Okay,
And I don't know of the city attorney being in that loop. I'm not aware of a city where the city attorney is in that loop.
I'm okay with taking it out. I'm just, does anybody have an objection or moving on? Take it out? Okay, done. 503, file for city office, secretary shall review the application with the guidance of the city attorney. With the guidance of other city staff. That could include the city attorney.
But it doesn't. We don't currently have a staff attorney. We don't
Yeah,
have
that's true.
attorneys.
Although city attorney is available as a support.
But we've got as needed, so I don't think it hurts to make it clear that the city secretary can get guidance, legal guidance if they need it.
I'd leave it in there.
I would.
Leave it in. Leave it in. Okay. So, deny that one. Under prohibitions, the initial language said any person convicted of a violation of this section shall be ineligible for a period, blah, 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 following such conviction. And this was a thing, I don't think we decided from the legal review that convicted had maybe some, some parts of it that were not correct. Any person confirmed to be in violation is a little less onerous, I think.
Well, with regard to 902A1, discrimination, there are elements of discrimination that are not criminal, that they're civil violations.
Right.
Um,
And confirmed to be in violation would actually include a conviction.
You could say convicted or otherwise confirmed.
Okay. So. I can't really change the text on this screen. But I'm going to say convicted or otherwise confirmed. I think that covers both cases.
Then you could say following such conviction or confirmation.
Say that again, please.
On the third line where it says follow that ineligible for a period of 5 years following, you could say such conviction or confirmation.
Right, both places.
Right.
Okay, got that. Any other comment on it? Now this one, I don't think you've seen this one, sorry. Due to the changes that we made to follow state law, I have put in here an addition to define that the initial term for the new member place 6 would be for 1 year.
Yeah, I think that's exactly as it should be. That's consistent with what we do with other appointments.
In that way, I mean, the changes that were put in place for filling a vacancy, because if we create a new seat, it's vacant.
Right.
And state law says you shall fill a vacancy of more than a year by a special election. And I don't want to have the charter passed and then immediately have to have a special election to fill a seat that
No.
we just created.
I think that makes good sense.
Okay?
Mhm.
Yes.
And then that made a change that council member place shall then be selected by ballot in May of 2027. Okay? So, is everybody good with that?
Does it make any difference how long it takes them to appoint?
I'm sorry?
Does it make any difference how long it takes them to appoint? a
Say
council
something
member?
within 30 days or something.
Yeah,
Or 60
or, I mean,
days or
does
something.
the year start when they get
No.
in there, or can it be less? It's gonna be less than a year that they'll
Yeah.
be
It's gonna be
in
a
the
shorty.
position.
Well, the way that's defined is until the next regular city election in twenty
Okay, so
twenty-seven,
it's
which
flexible.
would be less than a year.
Right. Okay,
Well,
Okay.
but remember what Dave's also saying is, do we want to say that the 5 council members and the mayor shall appoint somebody for place 6 within so many days? After the, is that a good idea or
No,
do we trust them to get it done?
yeah,
I don't think they're gonna.
yeah. I think that's good.
yeah, I mean, it's a vacancy that they're authorized to fill, so, okay? Okay? And then the only other change that I put in here, and this was based on conversation at the town hall meeting. There are 14 references to qualified voter in the body of the charter. And I know what qualified voter means.
Right.
Um, and qualified voter is actually defined by Texas Election Code. But for purposes of in the charter, we mean a qualified voter who maintains a permanent residence within the corporate city limits of Willow Park and is currently registered as a voter in Parker County, Texas.
I think that's a good definition.
Okay? I will, well, I will accept that change. Well, okay, that didn't take as long as I thought. I did get a packet of inputs on Monday that I did not send to you. And partly why I didn't send it to you was it was in 15 pages. And I can pull the document up and show you, but it came in 3 parts. The first part I've highlighted the exact text out of it. Following provisions present heightened risk of statutory conflict, constitutional challenge, or litigation exposure and merit corrective action. Well, those 14 items in part 1, I don't know why the legal review that we had just accomplished in the preceding meeting wouldn't have caught statutory conflict, constitutional challenge, or litigation exposure. And I have asked the attorney, the city attorney yesterday, if there is anything in there that we really should look at. And I have gotten no feedback on that subject since.
We also specifically asked the attorney if there was anything that was outside of the norm for charter provisions, and Fritz said no. Now, they did make notes that with regard to the ethics commission, which I think we've addressed.
Right.
I'm not sure what are these 14 items he's talking about.
I can send them to you if you want. I can send them to you collectively or individually.
I
I can show them to you right now.
I don't think it's unreasonable to request that be put in the form of a red line. I,
I did do that.
But my question is, what qualifications does a council member have to try to interpret law? That's bizarre to me. Like,
I think I'm with Mary. I'd be interested in, if,
I don't get it.
if the attorneys say that there's something we need to look at, then you bet, let's do it.
I bet our attorneys already reviewed most of this information. This is nitpicking, obviously. And I think that when you sit on a council and you're trying to interpret law, that's like risky. Kind of treading the lines of ethics, like it's not very ethical. No matter that even when you're a realtor, you have to really watch it because they don't want you trying to portray that you're trying to interpret law because that's kind of practicing law. So I just think this is weird,
It's actually the unauthorized practice of law, which is.
and that applies to that as well too.
I looked at a couple of those things. I don't know. No, I'm not gonna characterize any of that. Couple of things that I looked at, I did not agree with. I mean, but that's me.
The bottom line is, sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but bottom line is, we've had an attorney with us almost every single step of the way. Obviously, Fritz isn't here tonight, but he's been at 99.9% of the meetings. Plus, we had the legal review, which was multiple attorneys going through this, and Andy Messer himself going through this, and I feel like that those things would have been addressed if any of those came to light.
I'm with you, Tandy. I feel like if the attorneys look at whatever it is, the council member has come, these 14 things, and they say there's a concern, then it's appropriate for us to deal with them, but I don't think I want to take legal advice from somebody who's not aware.
And you've already sent some of those, right, to the attorney to take a look at, right? Just to be on the safe side.
The entire package was sent to the attorney.
No, I get it, but that, and you know, were examples of those 14 items?
No,
sent?
not
Okay.
examples. I forwarded to the attorney the package of stuff that,
Okay,
I mean,
so we're kind of in a holding pattern until, to see if we hear anything back, as you said earlier.
right.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
and since our goal is to finalize and provide the charter to the city council on January 27th, I don't like being in a holding pattern. I'll just be candid about that.
But.
So.
Understand.
Okay, so what does that leave us as options? I will take all the changes that we have discussed tonight. I will package them up with a clean copy of the charter. I will send that back out to everybody. I will post it online. I will send it to the city attorney. Guess I better read myself.
Can we poke at them and ask them when their expected turnaround time is to your question?
Of course.
I would
Okay.
poke them.
Yeah.
I
ain't going-
I don't want to just dismiss it. I want them to come back and
They
say,
need to say.
no,
something.
it's good, or yeah.
Right, okay.
So
So,
it's closed loop, basically.
but there will be a clean, unredlined document sometime tomorrow. I can't promise what time, hopefully before 2 o'clock, so I'm planning to go bowling again tomorrow. I will set that up to be posted. We'll send it to the attorney. And you guys. I will request confirmation that there are no, it's loose ends, there are no unresolved issues. But at this point, I think we have to plan on a final meeting on January 21st.
I agree with you. I think that what we say is that we will be here on the 21st. We will be here to entertain whatever input the city attorney wants to give us with respect to these comments.
I don't think we want to wait that long. I think if we wait for them to come in here and dump it on the last meeting, we have no runway
Well, that's a good point.
to address those issues. I think they need to respond back to us either by Friday or by Monday.
The last time we got
And,
a promise
right,
that a Monday was a deadline, I got their final input on Wednesday.
well, you gotta say this is no kidding, we gotta have it on Monday.
Okay.
Because, otherwise we don't have any time to look at it, view the changes, incorporate them and have a final meeting.
Yeah.
Please believe that I have tried to.
I'm not faulting you at all,
No.
but we gotta figure out how to put the pressure on these guys, especially since they're not
Were
here.
they looking?
Since none of them are.
Yeah.
Was there a notification given that the attorney wouldn't be here this evening?
No, we were specifically told he would be.
I expected that Rich would be there.
Yeah.
So I'll find out tomorrow what happened.
What was, Gene, what was part two? You talked about part one, what was part two?
Well, legally permissible, but may impair effective governance, flexibility, or institutional stability if left unaddressed. You want to see what those items are?
Sure.
I would.
Okay.
That's not, what's your big of a deal?
I think I can manage that.
Tell us your schedule off for today.
Oh, yeah. As long as I can find the right. No, not that. Okay. Oh, this. And this, I actually reformatted it, so it's only in 10 pages. This is not the actual original. It's original text, it's not the original format. The part two.
Oh.
Let's see, attorney-client privilege waiver threshold. No mayor or council member shall disclose any attorney-client privilege communication. City council as the governing body, blah, blah, blah. Wants to make a change.
No. Absolutely not.
So what he's proposing is that the city council as the governing body of the city solely holds and is titled to the attorney code, and it may be waived by an affirmative vote of a majority of the city council. And that would mean that one person on the city council had a conflict with or an interview with the attorney that had attorney-client privilege, and the rest of the council could make that null and void. And I agree with Carol, I don't see how that could ever.
Absolutely not.
I'm not even sure I agree with a 2/3 vote. I think,
I've seen 2/3 vote. I don't think that's uncommon. But a simple majority is way outside the bounds.
if I was gonna make a change, I would make it unanimous.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know that question has ever come up in the 30+ years I've been involved with the city, but regardless, okay.
Yeah, though, for rebalancing.
The mayor is the presiding officer, the mayor has a vote in this county, and the suggestion is the mayor is the presiding officer, the mayor shall vote only in the event of a tie. Well, he seems to have missed most of our discussion.
No.
flexibility to cancel, reschedule meetings. I'm actually, you've heard my opinions on this. It, to be honest, and since we're here, on this one, currently, they have it defined to meet on Tuesdays. They meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, and pretty much November and December are subject to that second meeting conflicting with Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay. If they change the day of the week, I mean, they used to meet on Mondays. And that got all kinds of conflict with holidays.
You know, there is nothing in that text that says that they have to hold those two regular meetings on any particular day or date. They have the ability to make that decision, except in November when they, or December when they just have to have one. I continue to feel very strongly that twice a month, the council needs to show up and face the citizens. And there's nothing in that language that says that they can't rearrange the dates as necessary.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of benign on it, but I can see, like I said, my history with the council, I can actually see where that language, if you substitute a regular meeting for a special meeting, that meets the need, but then you're not holding two regular meetings that month. And so it is a specific violation of the exact English.
And special meetings, by definition in the statute, are not general meetings. They are supposed to be dealing with a specific item. They're not intended to be a general meeting that deals with, you know, contracts and all the stuff. It's supposed to be for a specific, unusual, special purpose. And, you know, councils and boards of trustees, they hate them. And I don't blame them. They signed up for 2 meetings a month.
What if we, this is a different thought. What if we said the council shall hold a minimum of 24 meetings a year?
No. I want them to show up twice a month, not 24 times in 30 days.
That wouldn't happen either. No.
No, it wouldn't happen. But you know what might happen? You might have a situation where you've got 2 council members that are quitting and then not quitting, and they're all doing it in an effort to impact forums and impact the ability of the council to get a budget done and to basically be holding the council hostage.
Well, that couldn't possibly.
Oh, no, it couldn't possibly happen.
Okay, I'm not gonna say another word on it, y'all. I mean, I set it up where I don't get a vote. No problem.
What's the next one?
The next one, budget rate supermajority removal. We have in here that it requires a supermajority basically to adopt the budget and the tax rate. Well, reason for change, 5-vote requirement risks paralysis due to vacancies, recusals, absence, exceed norms. Well, it doesn't exceed norms because they currently have to have a supermajority if they have a special meeting or if they are going to adopt the tax rate. The budget is not required to be done by a supermajority by state statute in a general law city. But the budget is basically the hand in glove with the property tax. So I'm not opposed to that. Okay. Part 3, which I didn't mention, is actually some explanatory stuff about, he referenced HB 2027, and when I first responded to him, I looked that up. And I couldn't make sense out of what he was talking about because HB 2027 died in committee and was never
We've already
became
got that.
law.
We've already got that.
Well, and then he said, "Oh, I got the wrong one." He meant HB 2027 from 2023. He didn't specify that anywhere, so I looked up the 2025 legislature.
You're actually not supposed to reference HB and SB after it's been signed into law and it's signed.
Well, that's,
a
if
statute.
you're gonna reference it, then you reference the code sections, not the bill, so. Anyway,
This is why we let attorneys be attorneys, you know?
You know, if you look
Okay.
at section 2.01, the general powers. And then you go down into specific powers, it says all throughout there that it's subject to applicable state and federal law.
that's right. I know.
So.
That's okay. I mean, I think what's important is that, you know, we're taking a look at it. We're verifying that the charter is addressing it, you know, and that the overarching umbrella is applicable state and federal laws, right? So what we don't want to do is just be dismissive and,
Right.
yeah, and we want to take a look at everything and make sure that there isn't any gaping holes, you know, in the charter.
That's true.
Okay, does anybody have anything else you wanna? I mean, I can send this stuff to you and, you know, you can enjoy it while watching the football game this weekend. I'll send it to you. Okay,
Do that.
send it to that. Okay. I have on my watch
Are you
eight,
gonna be available
51.
next Wednesday? Are
I'm
you gonna
sorry.
be here For our 21st meeting?
Well, it is my wife's birthday and who's bringing cake?
Bringing my wife. You're bringing-
Tuesday, there is no P and Z meeting, that was canceled today.
No, I don't think we can move it to Tuesday because I would have had to have posted the agenda for
Oh.
it tonight,
Okay.
3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
If it makes you feel any better, today's my 31st anniversary.
Oh,
So for Larry's at home, even TV dinner.
He wants to on TV.
There's
Well-
some football game on, I'm sure.
But just pointed out that we are blessed to have multiple options and not figure out why we're not getting something to eat today. So, no, I will take whatever hit I take.
Okay.
Go from there. But the other thing is getting the city attorney to respond in a reasonable. No, that's not the right word.
That's the.
Finally.
In a timely manner. I will do my best. I don't think we will get any more feedback. The other thing I did ask them was, we did get another set of comments in Wednesday right before noon before our last meeting, and I did not have time to go through that and find if there was anything else.
Who are they from?
Susan Thomas.
Oh.
So I asked Andy Messer last night if there was anything in that new set of comments, that last set of comments, that was important that we did not get to review. And I haven't had that response yet either, but it's only been a day, so.
Might you send that? That's,
Whatever Susan gave you?
Yeah.
I don't know if I did or not, and the problem with it is, it was. They sent us a red line version of the charter with comments. And then they made more comments to that. And I had never had time to go back and try and figure out what are the changes.
So these were like comments below the original comments? that you-
Embedded in them.
Was it like different colored ink or something so you could tell?
Right, called configuration management.
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof.
Was, how extensive were the,
Oh, we had
No,
some.
more than one.
The last time, and a lot of them were just.
I mean, if you want to send it.
Yeah.
No, I don't, I'm not gonna get you to waste your time on that. I'm gonna, I asked Andy Messer to identify anything that we needed to look at that was not covered in the last review. And that's kind of their job to make sure we got it right. Now, I have action items. Update, post, distribute. You have an action item to read it one more time. And if you find anything that you want to have discussed, notify me immediately. And I will share with the group, okay? Other than that, we have 5 minutes to discuss anything else you want.
Yeah. My fault. Numerous-
Looking at the action item, yeah. I thought that was just rewording.
Oh, I gave him the line.
Oh, okay, gotcha, okay, gotcha. I just wanted
And
to
I
make
think
sure.
that got embedded.
Okay, good, thank you, sorry for.
Yeah, all the action items I saw were. Well, thank you all.
To adjourn.
Motion to-
Second.
Great.
Oh, yeah, I had to correct the minutes one time. Somebody put down that I seconded the motion.